Here with Concordia head baseball coach Ryan Dupic to preview the 2022 season, which is quickly approaching as we record this, less than 3 weeks from the first official games of the season. I just wanted to look back quick at last year. I know we've talked about it quite a bit, going to the World Series and all that, but how long did it take to maybe sink in a little bit about what you guys had accomplished and just what were some of the lasting reflections before you turned the page to this year?
Yeah, I think, to let it sink in is tough, to know exactly that moment. But, some of the things I think about are like when we got there and you see the setup of the place and the field and you take BP the day before. I think about last year's group, even after we were eliminated, kind of hanging out, an extra day or so and getting to spend some time with those guys was nice because that was reflective. That was a really helpful thing that, administration helped us, just the way the tournament was set and the way the timing was. They set up flights to allow us like an extra day or two just to kind of spend some time together, which is something we don't always get, because the spring season ends and usually school's over and you just kind of go home. So that part was nice. And then there was a day, either this summer or fall or something, my wife and I sat down and watched some of the stuff on video from like the regional and stuff like that. And I can't remember exactly when that was. So it's nice. It's fun to reflect back on some times and think about what a special year it was.
Well, you have a lot of guys back who were part of that run. How did you kind of this preseason try to recreate a new sense of, purpose and direction for moving forward after you do something so big last year?
Yeah, I think every group has its strengths and challenges, and I just haven't sensed from this group that there's been a ton of complacency or that they feel entitled to any specific thing, so that's good. I think it's a mature group in that sense. The other thing is it's still a different team. We have a lot of good players back and a lot of great kids. We also lost some excellent players off of last year's team, particularly in our pitching staff. So I guess from my perspective, it feels like a new team and a new season, and we're certainly grateful for the success that we had a year ago and some of the other previous years and what that's built for our program. But every year brings new challenges. Every team and program is different every year. So it's just kind of you wipe the slate clean and you move forward with the next year. And that's just kind of been, I think our focus for the most part.
What can you say about kind of the level of player it takes now to crack the offensive lineup? Just considering that you do have a lot of those guys back and what they did last year.
It's definitely the best depth we've had. Last year and this year are the best depth we've ever had since I've been here. There are some good players that are in our program right now. There are position guys, and I'm like, that guy really has a chance. And then I'm like, man, it'll be tough to get them some at-bats sometimes because we just have so many good quality returners right now in our program. And then the COVID thing obviously is impactful within that when you have a couple guys using an extra year. And so, it should be a very quality depth lineup. We feel very good about it. I think that's clearly on paper our strength right now, based off of last year's success and then building into this year in terms of returners and how much we have back. And I do think we have some new blood that'll help us have an even more competitive group and should have some good depth for those inevitable times where maybe somebody gets hurt or something might be going a different way where we got to adjust. So I like our group. I think that's a really good group, and Coach Lang, Coach Council, and that group has been working hard. It's a strong class, and we're very hopeful for them in their progress.
Yeah, what is there another level for those guys? I mean, what can you ask of them after they basically rewrote all the records last year?
Yeah, I think the difference, as I was kind of processing it, is our offense took a really big step last year, went to a level that they hadn't previously. I think it's fair to say that we have done that for 1 year. you know, and if you really want to be competitive, you're going to have to do that on a consistent basis. That's something that we've been able to do in various parts of our program, whether it be a culture of a program or whatever, that we feel like have started to sustain itself and starts to be good year after year. Right now, we've operated at an elite level offensively for 1 year, and I'm really glad we did. Now we have to do that again. And obviously we do want to do better, and there's other things that we can do better, and I think that's a big theme is despite the success we had, we see gaps in our program and areas that we can improve. And that's really more where I hope that our focus is right now. I know that's where my focus is just trying to find ways to keep improving.
You said that you don't feel like there's complacency at all, but is there maybe a confidence, a little bit of a swagger? I mean, what's the culture like of this team? I'm sure that they feel like they expect to do good things again.
Yeah, I hope there is. I hope there's some confidence there, and yeah, I do think there is. I think guys expect to be successful, expect to win, and there's been communication in some of our meetings when we hear feedback from some of the players about their desire to be able to take the field with any team and feel like they belong. I think that was a transition piece that's occurred over the past couple of years, and some of our guys still feel that we can do better in that from time to time, particularly when you're playing some of the best schools in the country like we had the opportunity to do last year. So I absolutely think there's a lot of confidence that's been built, and we hope that can carry us into this season.
And I wanted to shift to pitching. From that perspective, you said goodbye to the top 3 starters in the rotation from last year, but still a lot of pieces that gave you some quality innings from last year. Just how do you see things kind of coming together as a staff right now?
Yeah. I like our bullpen a lot. Nathan Buckaloo coming back for another year is very helpful for us. Shane Whitaker had a big breakout season last year, and I think he's better this year right now than he was at this point last year. Jacob Lycan is better right now at this point than he was last year. We see some other players that were not, they could be a bullpen guy, they could end up being a guy that maybe gives us more length, like a Cale Matheson. Cale's better right now than he was last year, so some of the parts of that are still being pieced together, but we see people who are improving, and that's really encouraging for us. Our starting pitching, I think, has talent, but we're developing skill and we're developing experience within that group. Kaden Bagarski and Alex Johnson are 2 guys that kind of got their feet wet last year and both showed really good progress at times. Alex was really good early in the season, then worked through some physical stuff, and that's going to be a big key for us moving forward with him. And Kaden is just an awesome story. He pitches JV for most of the season and just throws so well that we start throwing him on varsity, and then a month later he finds himself pitching and starting the game to go to the World Series. So he just has made tremendous progress and is a really passionate, hardworking kid. So we believe we have some young guys there that have some talent, and we certainly have some others in the mix too, but we're just continuing to develop some of the finer points and help gain some experience. So our starting pitching staff for sure is where we're took a big hit, when you lose guys like that. So it's time for that next group to step up, and that'll be a big key for us.
I think you may have even brought it up in the fall that, Doane actually did tie you in the conference standing, so it's not like you're not being pushed within the GPAC too. How do you approach your guys just in knowing that, part of reaching your goals is taking care of what you can within the conference again too?
Yeah, I feel like I don't think that wanting to do well at the national level and wanting to compete well in your conference has to be 2 different things. I think it's, to your point, it's part of the same path. And, we've done well in the conference, but I truly believe our conference just keeps getting better. I see a ton of teams right now that I truly think could win the league this year, and it's just kind of good programs that either have good, rich history or up-and-coming programs, and you see a ton of competitive teams right now. And so, I'm approaching this year the same way I did last year, which is we're going to go try to keep growing and improving and getting better. We're going to go try to be competitive and win the conference and make sure we advance to the national tournament. And and then try to be peaking at the right time and see if we can go make that run and get back to the World Series and then compete on that level. But a key step in that is the conference, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun this year. The conference is going to be really good, really balanced. Just think you're going to see a lot of different teams who are very competitive. So it should be a really, really good league this year.
I know you brought in a number of transfers into the program, maybe some freshmen also have a chance to make an impact, but how do you see new guys possibly impacting this team?
Yeah, I think the bulk of our team initially is going to be a lot of returners that we'll lean on. I think Jaden Quinn is a transfer player that is somebody who has a chance to be a very good player for us. A very talented player, infielder, left-handed hitter who's a very good kid and a good player, working very hard. So we're excited to have him. Daniel Rivera and Jake Davey are two pitchers that have transferred in that I think have a chance to be competitive for us. And both are working through individual things, whether it's trying to execute a certain pitch better or health or things of that nature. But we hope to develop some depth through that as well. I like our freshman class. It's a really good quality group. There's just some good competitive kids, some good athletes on the position player side, some of the pitching side. I think there's some good quality depth guys and a couple of guys that can help us right away and a couple of guys that have a chance to help us even more long term and some of a little bit of both. So I think in terms of immediate impact, it's probably a couple more of the transfer guys than it is some freshmen coming in and hitting 3 in the order or being the number 1 or number 2 starter out of the gate. But I do think it's a nice group and a good collective balanced group, and so we'll hope to see how some of those guys progress as the season goes on.
And last thing, we maybe kind of covered this, but what do you feel like might be unique about this team compared to last year?
The first about 2.5 to 3 weeks of our spring season since we've come back and practice, I felt have been really quality practices. The processes that we have, the way we're investing in our time has been really good. What this year's team I think has is the experience that last year's team helped create for it. And so there was a ton of fun from that and a ton of joy and a lot of great opportunities. There was also humbling times too, where we didn't play as well as we wanted to, particularly at the World Series. So I think it provides additional value into some of those areas of the game that before maybe you didn't focus on as much. I think we've sort of traditionally been fairly good around here, at pitching and hitting. That's kind of been our base. And we want to keep that base, but we're trying to provide additional value in some of the other aspects of the game. We find ourselves working more on it and spending more time. We've heard some feedback of some of our guys starting to become more connected to that. So that's been a really big piece for us as well. And another transfer guy's been huge within that, Andy Zappos, who I think is a guy who I didn't mention who will absolutely have a big impact on our program. Has done a big part with that for us with our infield group and really getting guys connected and bought into trying to be a better defensive team. So so it's exciting. I think it's a good group of guys, and I hope that they'll use some of those things to be able to really build on this season.